Hey everyone, part 2 of my GMG review of the 3rd season edition of Blood Bowl, the game of fantasy football, the beautiful game by Games Workshop, and this was all kindly sent along as a complimentary review copy. Now, we are checking out the Bretonnians, a new team, although there's been lots of people who have played Bretonnian teams just with like cool third-party miniatures for the last little while, and they finally have a team of their own. They might have even been like a Fanatic magazine thing that was written ages and ages ago. There must have been a Bretonnian team at some point. I can't see why there wouldn't have been. But official miniatures and a lovely new issue of Spike to detail it all. You do get 2 frames, obviously, in this box set, and you don't get the Spike magazine, but handily enough, they do put the team roster on, the quick reference sheet that comes in the box. This is extra outside the box set, just saying that for the review. But because it has the full team outline, I'm going to talk about it in relationship to the new team. So double frame, this does fall under, I mean, it's a new team, so it doesn't really change anything for them, but this does fall under the new, if it doesn't come in the sprue, it's not in the list sort of format for team making, which means 3 linemen, 3 positional players on each frame, 6 total, 6 linemen, and then 2 each of the positionals. So that means 12 players, and that's going to be Squires, who are your basic linemen, all with Wrestle, a lovely new additional skill. And then a Knight for 3 different positions. So the different positions are going to be Guerrilla Knight, who is kind of your blitzer, a Bretonnian Knight thrower, who's your thrower, and a Bretonnian Knight catcher, who's your catcher. Now they've all got nerves of steel, except for the blitzer, who's just there for hitting things. And yeah, and so the catcher and thrower are going to ignore being marked for their pass and their catch skill, which is really, really cool. You have Dauntless on every single Knight. So if you have a higher strength, because they're all strength 3, that you're trying to block even with like a multiple block or like a blitz order or blitz action, you will roll d6 and add to your strength. And if it's equal to or higher than the strength of the thing that you're going up against, your strength goes up to meet it. So you're always going to be doing like an equal block as opposed to having yourself be at a disadvantage, which is neat. And then you got catch and pass, of course, on the thrower and the catcher. And steady footing, which I think is, I don't know if it's a new skill, but I haven't seen it before on a human team. And that is a 6+ save against being knocked down for any reason. So whenever you're knocked down, be it from being hit or from going for it, rolling a 1, anytime you would get knocked down, roll a die. If you roll a 6, it's ignored. And you don't cause a turnover. So dude just has like a potential to like walk off being turned over, which is really interesting. And I guess that's from the Blessing of the Lady. Kind of average human stats, although your catcher's a little slower than the average catcher from like the human team, but that's because armor value is 9+. So he's got a 7 move allowance and then 3s to sit for strength, 3 across the board, just like standard human strength. 3+ for his agility rolls, 4+ for his pass, 9+ for his armor. The Squires have an 8+ armor and Wrestle, a 3+ agility and a 4+ pass. Now Wrestle is if the player performs a block action or is the target of a block action. If the both down comes up, they can choose to use the skill, and if they do, both players in the block action are placed prone, regardless of any other skills. Wrestle basically overrides somebody else having blocked during both down, which is neato. It makes them just like extra defendy, because you know what I mean? You go down swinging if someone comes after you. And at 50K, they get a skill, which is cool. They've got general, and then secondary skills are going to be agility and strength. They get agility and general for the Bretonnian Knight catcher with his catch, dauntless, and nerves of steel. And then the thrower is going to have dauntless, nerves of steel, and pass. So let's just talk about that for a second. Nerves of steel meaning that like you can't tag him out during a pass. Dauntless meaning it's very hard to not have this guy maybe escape potentially, because you're just rolling for a push, right? If you're rolling for a push on 1 dice and your dauntless goes off, that's obviously not great. That's a skull. I don't like these dice already. Oh my God, it did it again. Oh my God, both down. Or that's a smash for the block. Push, there we go. We're just looking for pushes here. Pushes should be 3 of these. 1, 2, or no, 2 of these are pushes, that's right. So a third of these are pushes. We should be able to get a push relatively often. And dauntless is going to mean that you're hopefully able to, like a third of the time on that 1 die, if you're needing to push somebody off you to get away and throw, or to go pick up the ball even, be able to do that. And then your thrower obviously also has Nerves of Steel for chucking out of a pile. So if you manage to get the ball back from a scrum, you won't have any penalties when you throw it out afterwards. And the Dauntless, again, allowing him to maybe fight his way into where he needs to or push someone off of him to get away, and then maybe do a moving pass on top of that. Pass lets you re-roll your throws, and obviously catch lets you re-roll your catches. And then that Ground Knight, steady footing, Dauntless, and block. No Nerves of Steel, so you don't want this guy necessarily catching or throwing, but he's got a 3+ agility. Like, he can do it still. He can pick up the ball and run with it, or you can get it handed off to him, no problem. So an interesting team build. Again, I talked about this a little bit when I went through the box set. With the prices the way they are, and only getting 6 positional players, you're almost never, and like unless you're playing like a deeper than $1 million gold roster campaign, like if you start with more than $1 million, you probably wouldn't start with both your throwers. They're usually the second higher of your positionals, but you're gonna start with both your catches, both your blitzers, because you want them earning experience right away. And that means like your investment in your core roster, it's gonna be $300K for the linemen, and then $170 for your catchers, $250 for your thrower. That puts you at $550, and then another $190, right? So $650, $740. You can get $840, $940, 2 more or 4 more Squires if you want, although you won't have them. You only have 6. So you can max out all 6 of these guys already and still have room for a whole bunch of rerolls. You get everybody in this roster, and it's just the box. And that's real interesting. Like you get a significant chunk of a 12-player roster and still have room for rerolls. But you won't really, like the only thing that's gonna flex is, can I have more Squires? Would I rather have Squires or rerolls? And 3 rerolls being 180, you're just gonna max out your Squires and your rerolls probably in the beginning, and every starting Bretonnian team's gonna be kind of the same. So, I don't know, like, then I guess it just comes down to their skills that makes them different in playing. It just means that, like, as a coach, you don't really have a lot of choices into how to buy the team initially to play into a league, right? Because your million is getting you basically the same thing every time. Because, yeah, 190, 350, 350 plus 170, 450, 520, 820, and then 3 rerolls is exactly $1 million. You get the whole squad. The whole squad and 3 rerolls is $1 million crowns. And that's just 1 box. So from like a easy to play starter set point of view, that's cool. You just need the box and you've got your starting team. I need to somehow find 10 more linemen, I guess, if I want a full roster. Well, I guess it wouldn't be 10 roster because you get 16 maximum. So if I need 4 more linemen, maybe they'll sell some 4 resin linemen or something from Forge World that I could have to max out my squad and get me different models. They are nice enough to make sure that when you build your miniatures, each of these models builds 2 ways. There's alternate heads for everybody. So when you go through the build options, you can see here there's 2 heads for this blitzer. One makes him a Guerrilla Knight. Actually, they both make him Guerrilla Knights. There's 2 for the catcher, right? He can have this head, like these head toppers are basically all different. And the same for the thrower, 2 different heads. So I'm never gonna have the same player twice. Like their poses might be similar, but they're gonna have different heads all the way through. But that's really the only difference in my team. My team is gonna be pretty much the same as the starting team no matter what. So, I mean, the good thing is, cool starting team, because it's really easy to play the roster. I don't know what the challenge level is going to be. Also, they didn't put tier numbers in here anymore, which I found interesting. They didn't tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 these, which I was surprised by. And they didn't do it in the core rulebook either. Unless the stars over top is the tier. No, the stars are all the same. I was like, maybe the number of stars up here will be the tier, but they didn't put tier numbers. Unless I'm just blind and I've missed it. Special rules, none. Yeah, just the rules. So the Bretonnian League didn't get a tier number in here either, which I assumed it would, but it's not even in the core rulebook. So let's talk about Spike. Yeah, no tiers. So tiers appear to be maybe there's a list later on in the book that has them all listed instead of putting them on the teams. But tiers are basically how easy is the team to play. I was gonna say this would be a tier 1 team if it, just from the point of view like building it, because it's kind of an intro level team. So there we go. Again, it's gonna the background for the team's gonna be in here. Why do Bretonnians like playing it? Well, occasionally the lady shows up. Occasionally, and then the worse that the odds are for the team to play, the more likely the lady shows up. And so the Bretonnians are obsessed with playing Blood Bowl because it gets the lady to appear to Knights. And then we got our roster, of course, the Brown Barons. This is the color team here for like a historical one. And what I thought was neat is later on top of like the pitch special rules, right, for the castle courtyard, the ruined splendor of it, an ornate ball and a blessed ball. A player gains a steady footing skill and my ball and loner 2+ trait while they have possession of the blessed ball. In addition, they gain foul appearance skill while in possession of the blessed ball on account of the shining holy light they're infused with. And then the ornate ball, if the players start the activation with an ornate ball, at the end of the turn they're still in possession of it, roll a d6 and a 1, they become distracted as they try to figure out the secret work of art in their hands. If you're on the courtyard pitch, you get -1 to your rush attempt, so if you're trying to go for it. In addition, if a player is stalling at the end of their activation, do not roll to see if the crowd takes action. It automatically throws a large rock at them. And then Castle Courtyard, whenever an armor roll is made for a player that's knocked down, you get +1 to the roll because it's hard on the ground. So that was neat. And then we get a special Bretonnian weather table, wildflower fields. The peasant is revolting. Just the usual extra Blood Bowl shenanigans. But there's a neat, different, oh, and then some starting rosters here. This one, like, I just talked about this one. The Wall, it's just the box set. So, yeah, 3 rerolls and the box set's 1,000,000 gold pieces. If you want some fans and an apothecary, you lose a reroll basically, and a squire. I don't know why I'd ever do that. And then some rules for some advice for team development on top of that. Some core setups for playing the game. I like that they do this in here. And then a historical match between them and the Musial Nashers, which is a vampire team, because they were assured this is another Bretonnian team, but unfortunately the Baron of Musial became a vampire. And I thought that was a cool little hint to some old world history. Some ads, and then a nice color section. Ask Lord Borak, the mail-in, and then a color section for the Barons, which, I mean, great. So yeah, a bit confused, honestly, but this just comes down to, I don't know why they don't want to sell more box sets. Let me like make my positionals, count deeper. And then maybe it's because people weren't buying the other stuff. They weren't buying Fan Factor or Apothecaries. Like, maybe it's to put pressure on that. I don't know. But then the rosters are going to feel kind of samey, I think, because you're really just flexing linemen. There's really not a reason not to come with your positionals. So there's a look at the Bretonnians. If it's your first foray into Blood Bowl, probably a really forgiving, easy human team to play. Human teams traditionally, they do all the core things in Blood Bowl, right? They're relatively durable because they're armor. So they can't cage like dwarves, but they can move up the pitch and fight their way through things if they have to. They can play a passing game if they have to. They have relatively quick blitzers and catchers, so you can play a running game too. They're just one of those middle of the road teams that isn't perfect at anything, but you can kind of develop into a direction that you like playing them. And this one obviously has the advantage of like Nerves of Steel, so you have way more reliable throwers and catchers. And then Dauntless, just to keep you being able to push people off you if you have to, and walk out of the scrum. So yeah, no dodge, but I'll take Dauntless, I think, over Dodge. I mean, Dodge is technically a better skill, but there's no reason not to take Dauntless. It basically just allows you to create more opportunities for pushes. So in your active turn, reactive Dauntless doesn't do anything. But yeah, I think if this is your first ever Blood Bowl box, this is a good starting team. It's relatively forgiving. It does all of the core Blood Bowl mechanics like decently well. It's not really special at any one thing, but it should be pretty forgiving to play and easy to paint as well. And the models are great because they're Bretonnians. They're fun and cool. Knights in shining armor and gritty, gross peasants. So, but thanks for watching. We'll be on to review number 3, where we take a look at the Tomb Kings, as this box set mirrors the old world release of the Return of Warhammer: The Old World. So thanks for watching. Workshop's nice and long. So I'm Ash. Have a good day.